You are the father.
Every day, 15 children, age 19 and under, are killed by guns. Our guests are here today, so perhaps that your child does not become one more notch in that statistic. Their stories are very powerful and heartbreaking, but I think they also teach a lesson. The lesson is, guns kill. Please meet Kathy and Herb. They know that what it means to lose somebody so young. Just a few months ago this year, 9 weeks ago, their 13-year-old son, Casey, was shot and killed while one of his friends played with his father's gun. Kathy and Herb, I know the pain of losing a child is excruciating, and I know that this is something that's very fresh for you. Thank you very much for coming to share the story. 13 years is so young, and he had so much to live for. Tell me about him. You just gave me something that your sister wrote
Yeah,
at the funeral.
She wrote that and she read
I got
that.
some kind of a feeling. What was he like?
He was a really fun kid. He was funny. He could always make you laugh. He had a good sense of humor. He did a lot of practical jokes. And he loved to go fishing, and he wanted to do a lot of things when he grew up. And he wanted to be a pilot. Ever since he was a little boy, he was always fascinated with diggers, is what he called them. And when he grew up, down in the corner of our property, he was going to dig a pond and fill it with fish and things like that.
Sounds like my kind of boy.
Yeah, he was fun.
You, Herb, keep guns in your home?
Yes, I do.
Because you hunt?
Right.
Are they locked all the
Yes.
time?
The guns are locked
Always.
always, and the bullets are locked in another spot.
And you've taught, do you have other sons?
Yes, 2 more.
And you've taught Casey, was he the youngest?
Yes.
Not to go near the guns?
Right.
Can you tell me what happened that day?
It was a Friday. There was no school in Stoughton. One of Casey's friends called and he'd wanted him to come over. And Casey'd been over there a few times before, and his friend, he's a nice kid, and they were talking on the phone, and I was going to make lunch for Casey and us, and Casey was talking to him, and he said, "Oh shoot," he said, "I should have got up early," because Casey slept in that morning. He said, "If I would have got up earlier," and he was talking to his friend and me at the same time. He said, "If I would have got up earlier, we could have gone over and target practiced with his dad." And right away I said, "No way." I said, "You're not going if there's guns." The only time they ever did that was with their dad, you know. And Casey and our other 2 boys had been through hunter safety. And so him and his friend were talking on the phone, and Casey pretty much right away said, "Oh, don't worry, Mom, we can't. You know, the gun's locked up," and his dad had to go. He said, "We can't." He said, "If I go over there, we'll play in the fort." And I'd heard about the fort. You know, they lived along the river, and, you know, I said, "Well, let's wait and see, you know, and you call him back." Well, then a while later, he had lunch, and he called back, and he really wanted to go. And I said, "Well," I didn't have a good feeling about it, though. I was trying to talk him into doing some other things. And
You wanted to go where?
he wanted to go to his friend's house.
Okay.
You know, "Come on, Mom, please. You know, you never let me go," which is true, because most of the time their friends are at our house, which makes us feel better, I guess. And
Sure.
we live out in the country, so we talked and everything, and I said, "Okay, you know, you can go for a couple hours." You took him over there. His dad
Right.
took him over to his friend's house, and
Were there grown-ups in the house?
I'm not sure.
We
There
don't
was
know.
a pickup truck in the driveway, so I just took it for granted that there was somebody home.
Okay.
you know, and I thought there's so many what ifs, you know, and we should have maybe called. But at 13, you know, we'd gone
It's that
around
in-between
with,
age.
yeah, you know, we've gone around this, around and around with the kids before. "Don't embarrass me, Mom, you know, it's all right, you don't need to call." And about 10 to 5, I called, and his friend answered the phone, and I said, "Hi, is Casey there?" And all he said was no. And I didn't know if he was kidding, or because they live in the country on the other side of town, and I thought, where could he have gone? And I said, well, where is he? And he said, he's on the way to the hospital. I said, why would Casey be on the way to the hospital? And he said that the EMTs just left. He said he was shot. And I was thinking, you know, please tell me he was shot in the hand or something. And I said, you've got to tell me, where was he shot? He said, I don't know. I could hear his mom in the background saying that they were taking him to Stoughton Hospital. Thank you. And he said to his mom, she wants to know where he was shot. And his mom told him, and then he told me in the chest or the shoulder. I said, I have to hang up. I hung up. He was gone. And I didn't know when he was driving the van to pick up Chris and then Casey, he heard it on the police scanner in the van.
I had heard that.
So you went right to the hospital?
Yeah.
Yes.
At the hospital, the doctors wouldn't let you see Casey.
No.
Why?
There was a lot of people in there. They had the curtains pulled, and finally a nurse came out, and there was a social worker that met us there, and everybody was really good, but they wanted us to go sit down, and I wanted to be there. We wanted to go in with him. And it dawned on me, I was so worried about him, and I didn't hear him. And I thought, Casey always was mad when he got hurt. He would always, he'd cry or he'd yell, you know, or something. And I said to him, I said, I don't hear him. You know, what is going on in there? And a nurse came out and said that he had lost a lot of blood. They were hanging blood and everything. And to just wait, you know, be patient. The doctor would talk to us as soon as he could. And, you know, I never heard him. And one time I could see his foot. And I tried to get in there a couple times. I mean, I wasn't going to cause a problem because I wanted them to do their job. But we just stood out there and we waited. And then they called our pastor and wanted to know about other family and that people were coming. And it was about an hour that we were there, and the doctor came out and he had tears running down his face.
And you knew?
Yeah, we knew.
What really happened, Herb?
They were target practicing, I guess.
The kids were told
Right.
not to do it, and they did it.
I
I'm
guess
sure
they did
that,
it anyway.
yeah, Casey knew not to do that.
And what happened?
They came into the house. The friend went in the house and got the last 6 bullets.
In the
and
whole house.
In the whole house, and he was shooting, and one jammed in the gun. And they went into the house. Casey sat on a bar-type stool in the kitchen area, and the kid was about 12 feet away from him. That's what the detectives told us. And he was trying to unjam the bullet, and it went off and hit Casey.
It hit him like,
It hit him in the shoulder
Right.
and went across the chest.
they said, because I just can't imagine, and I guess Casey's last words, he said something to the effect that, you shot me, call 911.
That was his last.
That was his
Yeah.
last words. Yes.
The friend went to court?
Yes.
He's been to court a couple times. They determined pretty quickly it was an accident, and we really believe it was an accident. I can't remember what he was charged with, like the most minor thing, so that he could get help, get counseling.
So there's no law that says a gun has to be locked up. He
No.
couldn't be charged with that.
Apparently not.
I understand how broken up your hearts are and how it will never be the same. What message do you have for us?
Lock your guns up.
Talk to your kids.
Talk to your kids.
I guess,
If I said to you, don't have guns in the house, if you're hunting, keep your guns at a club or something, what would you say to me, Herb?
That's kind of impossible because you need to clean your guns and things like that.
You can't go to a club and clean your guns?
Or you could, but it's just something about if you hunt, you want to have your guns at home or whatever.
I think it's people that kill people
Yeah, it's not.
accidentally.
Even
or,
after this happened?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Kyle was 15 years old and had a perfect life, but one fatal summer day, it all came to a sudden halt. Kyle was accidentally shot point blank in the face by his very best friend. His parents shared their horrifying story next. Stay with us. Guns, should we have them? Should we keep them in our home? Who should be allowed to have them? And how should children be protected? That's probably one of the most controversial issues in our country today. Lynn and Roger are no strangers to the pain and anguish that Kathy and Herb fight with every day for the last few weeks, but their fight has been going on for close to 3 years. Their 15-year-old son, Kyle, was also accidentally shot and killed by a friend. And what's more alarming is the loaded gun belonged to the boy's father, who was a police officer. I know this is still difficult for you to discuss. You told us that Kyle could always make you laugh, and was every parent's dream.
Yes, definitely.
You mean a good 15-year-old boy?
Yes.
There is such a thing.
There is such a thing?
Yes.
Come on, you know I'm kidding.
Yes. Kyle had just really came into his own. He was platinum blonde, blue eyes, and very small stature, and he had just started to grow the year before and was into lacrosse, and he was a police explorer, and all of a sudden he wasn't shy anymore, and there were 4 of them that hung around, the 4 Musketeers, and he was out all the time doing something.
My question is, he was 15 years old. Do you keep a gun?
I have some guns in the house.
Do you?
I always have. I grew up with guns.
Why? Why do you keep them in the house?
They're guns that I had when I was a child. I just haven't gotten rid of them. I haven't been hunting in 10 years, but we still have the guns.
There's
they
no
locked?
bullets or anything like
They're
that.
not locked, but I don't have any bullets.
You don't have any bullets.
No, and they've
No
been put away.
ammunition in the
The kids
house.
don't even know where they are.
Can you tell me about that day? July?
July 5th, it was a Monday. Kyle used to go mountain biking almost every day with his dad. And so he was going
We
over
did
to, he was going over to Michael's to go mountain biking. And I went to the store. I came home. I just put the groceries away, put the flowers in a vase, and it was the doorbell. And I opened it, and it was a policeman and another gentleman. And the policeman asked me if I was Mrs. Hirons, and I said yes. And he said, there's been an accident. And the first thing was, I thought, our oldest son is up in Maine. The first thing that came to mind was that he was in a car accident or something. And he said, no, he's been shot, and he's on his way to Lifestar. They're taking him by Lifestar to Hartford Hospital. And my mind just went blank. And I went in immediately and started cleaning up the kitchen. It was like I didn't know what to do. It's like total shock. No, this isn't happening to me. You know, not my son. Kyle was a very responsible child. He came home, he knew what he had to do, and he did it. We never had a problem ever with Kyle with anything. And the other gentleman turned out to be a priest, and he wanted to know which neighbor, who was home, that they needed somebody to drive me right away to the hospital. And it still hadn't dawned on me if he was going by Lifestar that this
Was serious.
right. I didn't want to believe it. And my neighbor, they got the neighbor there, and I called Roger right away at work. And his office is a few blocks from the hospital, so he made it there before Lifestar. And he saw them bring him in on Lifestar.
What condition was he in?
I don't know. We really didn't see him at first. I saw the helicopter land. But I never saw Kyle for
never saw him.
several hours later.
They put us in a small room with a priest.
We waited.
How long
then-
was that wait?
I say about
Hours.
3 hours or so.
3 hours.
They worked on him in the emergency room. And then we saw him in intensive care. He was on life support for 3 days. We were with him around the clock.
The reason it took so long to see Kyle is Kyle was shot in the face, on the left side. And it went down at such an angle, it severed his spinal cord, so he couldn't breathe on his own. He was paralyzed. We didn't know anything that had happened, and at that point, all we were worried about was our child.
Sure.
And when they finally brought us in, they had cleaned up the best they could, but we kept trying. I was rubbing his feet. I was talking to him. They were wonderful at Hartford Hospital, the ICU, pediatric ICU. They came in, they talked to him all the time, but they let us stay there as much as possible, then move us out of the room. Well, they had to run more tests, and then the third day they told us that he was brain dead, and that they had to run certain tests, and that would be it. We had no control over anything from there.
This family made the decision to donate his kidneys, his spleen, what else?
His liver.
His liver, heart valves.
Heart valves. They couldn't take his heart after stopping so many times, and Kyle was shot at such close range. We think about 1 foot, 2 feet tops.
Do you feel good about making that donation?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Tell me what really happened. He went to play at a friend's house.
Yes.
Father was a policeman.
Yes, and he was at work, and this was not his service revolver. It was a .357 Magnum that was fully loaded and left under the dresser. Everyone has a little curve. It was just left in a Ziploc, a little leather pouch. And there were other loaded guns in the house, in the bedroom. They were in the parents' room where the guns were, because that's where the TV is and the video games. So they were playing video games, and this young man wanted to show off for Kyle. And he did take the bullets out, and he showed him how to dry fire a gun, which is something I had never heard of before, but you take the bullets out.
What is dry fire
Yes,
gun?
you take the bullets out and you shoot it, so there's nothing coming out.
Play with the gun, but without the bullets in it, so that...
The bullets are not in the gun.
Right. They were to begin
so
with.
They unloaded the bullets.
Yeah,
and
Michael
then
unloaded them.
Fired the gun.
He was putting them back in, and he said to Kyle, "My dad said that if you pull back on the hammer
Hold back the hammer.
and keep your finger on the trigger, the gun won't go off." And Michael's finger slipped. So they also called 911 right away. There's a lot of police in Glastonbury. They were there within a minute, but Kyle was bleeding so much that, I mean, they did so much damage. His eyes had powder burns, his face, and it blew away the left side and part of his nose. And like I said, it went down his throat and severed his spinal cord.
Does your state have a kids and guns law?
Yes, and we are the
Would you
first
tell us what a
case.
kids and guns law is?
Kids and guns law means that if you have a gun, it must be locked up so that a minor cannot get at it and injure or kill another minor. And so we are the test case, and since they knew, because Michael had used the gun before and shot a hole in the ceiling, so the parents knew that he knew where the guns were and that he had played with them. And he had been punished for doing that before, but it didn't change anything.
The father did not serve any time or pay any fine, is that correct?
Right now, he's,
He's still a member of the police department.
yes, he has been all along.
We'll take a break, we'll be right back. At 8 years old, her days should be filled with thoughts of joy, not sorrow. But little Melody can't escape the blame she feels for accidentally shooting and killing her 4-year-old sister Melinda only 4 weeks ago. We're going to meet their family when we return. Stay with us.
You are the cop. Get off my stage.
Remember all those times that your child ran into your house or called you on the phone and said, "Hey, Mom, I'm going over to Billy's house to play," and without a second thought, you let them go? What could possibly go wrong, right? Well, today we're talking with parents who unfortunately have found out what can go wrong. Kids are playing with guns in this country, and they're dying at an alarming rate. We tried to get people from every part of the country. This is Connie, and this is her 26-year-old daughter, Susan. They are from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Did I say that all right?
Yeah.
Louisiana. Only 4 weeks ago, Susan's two daughters were playing in their home when 8-year-old Melody accidentally shot and killed 4-year-old Melinda, or Mimi as they affectionately called her. Melody is in our green room, and we'll have to see what's in her mind, whether or not she joins us. This all happened so quickly. Both of you are single parents, mother and daughter. Connie, you were at work when the incident happened. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Tell me what happened, as you know it.
Well, I called home about 4:16. I get off at 4:30, and I asked Susan how was the kids, and everything was fine at home. So I told her I had gotten paid that day, so I said, well, I'm going to stop by the bank, and I'm coming straight home. Well, when I got home, my house was roped off. It was a crime scene. My children were running. The baby had been taken to the hospital, and I had to kind of get the kids together, and I put my 14-year-old daughter in the car, and I told my nephew to stay at the house with Melody, and I took off to the hospital.
Susan, you were home that day?
Yeah, I had just got off work that morning, and they were up playing. They were scheduled to go to the dentist that day, and I didn't take them because I was tired, and I called the dentist and rescheduled everything. About 12, we got up, and we went to Taco Bell, and we came back. And about 1:30, I laid back down, and about 4 o'clock, I got up, and I said, we were going to straighten up your closet. And I straightened the top shelf of the closet, and the phone rang. And I went to the phone, and I heard the gun go off.
Where was the gun kept?
It was on the shelf, hidden up under the clothes. I immediately dropped the phone, hung it up. I ran calling their names, and I didn't hear anybody. I went to the closet, and the doors were shut, but they weren't closed all the way. I opened the door, and Melinda was laying on the floor in Melody's arms. I snatched Melinda out the closet, and I began to do CPR. And at the time, I called 911. They came shortly after, and they put Melinda on the stretcher, and they took her away. She had been shot in the head, close range, right above the eye. Melody had taken the gun off the shelf, and she knew it was wrong, so she put it back. Melinda again took it off the shelf and put it to her head, and during the struggle, the gun went off. Melody was in shock, so when I opened the door, she snapped.
What kind of gun was it?
It was a .38 Special.
Okay. Mimi died at the hospital. Melody will spend the rest of her life knowing that she shot and killed her sister. How is she doing, and are you getting her any help?
Okay, now Melody is in counseling now. The family, this is what you would call a tragedy of all tragedies. Mimi was, the family kind of focused on Mimi because she was our baby. She was bright, she was smart, she was energetic. She was not fearful of anything, and this is probably what happened in the closet. We're getting counseling. You know, we're just trying to move on, you know.
How are you?
We're coping.
We'll be right back. when her 12-year-old son's sudden and tragic death occurred at the hands of a friend's gun, Susan decided to do something with her pain and anger. We're going to hear her story when we come back. Plus, this 21-year-old is living proof that kids and guns are no laughing matter. Stay with us. And that's what we're talking about today, kids and guns, a subject that I think needs to be talked about and that our children need to be educated on so that their lives can be as precious tomorrow as they are today. I don't think we should lose one more young person because of ignorance or irresponsibility when it comes to guns and bullets. Please meet Ricky. Ricky is living proof that guns are no laughing matter. Less than 2 years ago, Ricky was riding high.
Yes.
Those are your words, or so he thought. Kind of
Yeah.
living in the fast lane.
Thought I was Mr. Untouchable.
Mr. Untouchable. Were you a member of a gang?
Yes.
That was until he was gunned down point blank and paralyzed from the waist down. What happened, Ricky?
I went to Aurora to get away from some trouble that was happening in Chicago because there was a war going on.
Between two gangs?
Yeah, and it was.
Had you ever thought of getting out of the gangs? I mean,
No, I thought about it a lot, but it's not as easy as everybody thinks it is. Just to say, okay, I'm finished. I mean, it's not that easy. So things were getting really hectic. I mean, people were killing people left and right for nothing. So I decided to go and get away for a little while. Me and the two people that I were with, we forgot that we didn't have any more cigarettes left, so we decided to walk to the gas station to go buy some cigarettes. So we made it to the gas station, okay, and then we started coming back. And on the way back, it was all right until we got to about a block and a half away from his house. And once we got there, there's this one car just like drove by going about maybe 5-10 miles an hour. So I went and I screamed back to the guy behind me to tell him to watch out for the car because they were going to come back. And he said, they ain't going to come back. Don't worry about it. I said, all right. But in my mind, I'm thinking they're going to come back. They're going to come back. I had like this weird feeling inside that they were going to come back. And we got maybe about another block, and I seen the car coming back at us, but with no lights, no nothing. And I said, nah, this doesn't look good. When I seen the car coming, I went to tell the guy in front of me to watch out for the car. And as soon as I got to put my hand on him, I heard gunshots, and the first bullet hit me right in the spine. I fell forward onto the floor, and I tried to get up to like run someplace to where I can hide. And I couldn't find any place to hide because it was all open fields. I mean, I can't hide in the snow because it's gonna go through the snow either way it goes. And I couldn't get up, so all I did was just put my hands over my head like this. And I was just praying to myself, please don't shoot me in the head. Don't shoot me in the head. And I'm looking just because I got to see whether the car's still there, if they're going to get out and step right over me and finish me off or what. And all I kept hearing was gunshots. And I got my head over my hands like this, and all I see is bullets hitting the snow, and the snow just going phew, phew, phew. So, I mean, it's like after that, I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh, my God. And when I looked around to see if someone could help me, I was there alone. The two people that were with me ran off. They just left me there. So
there was a policeman who eventually came by. What did he do?
Yeah, he drove past, and I was trying to get myself to the shoulder of the road because I was like pretty much in the middle of the field. And when I turned and I seen the police officer, you know, I was like, yes, I'm gonna be saved. I'm okay. I'm not gonna die. He rode by, got out of his car, looked at me on the floor, and he goes, that's what you guys get. Jumped back in his car and drove off.
Who shot you?
I have no idea. I mean, everything happened so fast.
You do not know who
No.
shot you. Did they ever find the person who shot you?
No,
Do you know why you were shot?
not at all.
You have no idea.
No idea at all. All I was doing was walking down the street,
What
finishing
has
up my weekend.
What has this done to you, besides being paralyzed?
It's done a lot. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard for people just to, I
So
don't
if you
know.
were talking to a lot of kids who watch this show who are in gangs, what would you say?
Don't be stupid. Get out. It's not worth it. The people that say they'll always be there by your side will leave you in a minute as soon as you can't do nothing for them.
This is Susan. Her 12-year-old son, DJ, was accidentally shot in the head and killed while he played at a friend's home. Susan feels that it's not right to just let DJ die in vain. So what are you doing?
I went out and changed the Connecticut gun laws and won.
What do you want to tell us since you've been there? What changes do we need to make in all the states?
First of all, you know, sitting back there listening to all these stories this morning, my heart just went out to everybody. I relived everything all over again. Kathy, I feel your pain, I really do. Every word that you said, it's like it brought back the same memories, the same thoughts, the same feelings. We've got to make a change. We've got to stop these kids from dying. They're dying needlessly. They can be prevented. We need to have laws in all the states. What I'm doing with my organization, GRIEF, which stands for Gun Responsibility in Every Family, is we're going around the country trying to get the laws changed in every state so that if a child does get a hold of a gun and accidentally shoots or injures someone, the gun owner can now be held accountable.
The parent. Okay. This is Scott. Scott thanks his lucky stars for being able to be with us today. Scott was a 4th grader. You're now 18?
Yes.
When he experienced an event that would change the course of his life forever. A woman walked into his elementary school and opened fire, killing one small child and injuring many. What do you remember about that day?
I remember it was a beautiful day in our suburban neighborhood, and it's safe, not as much different than Ricky's neighborhood. It's just, we left our doors open, you know, never any violence or anything. We just needed to be happy and be kids, you know, and
How did the woman, it was a woman who did this?
She was a babysitter.
Should she have had a gun?
Absolutely not. She was mentally disturbed, on medication. She had a record of violence. And what happened was she snapped one day. She lost her job. She snapped one day. And she went into a local gun shop and filled out a flyer. Have you ever, the guy asked her, have you ever been in jail? Are you in a mental hospital? Are you on drugs? I mean, it's like she's gonna say yes. She's no, no, no. Gets 2 guns and comes into a 2nd grade classroom and takes out her craziness on innocent kids. And I wanted answers, I wanted what's going on, why is this happening? And my friends and I, we promised each other that we're gonna try to make something positive come out of this because.
So Scott has co-founded Teens Against Gun Violence. Scott, we're going to put your number up, and if any other organization would like to contact you or people would like to join, we'd be glad to have them do that.
Yes, my heartfelt condolences go out to the entire panel up here, and I just have a comment. I really commend all you guys that's up there. You're bringing your story out here, and I know it's hard, but you're bringing your story out here, and you're letting people that's out there know what's going on, and I really commend you guys for that.
That's when talk shows do what's right. That's what they're doing. We'll be right back.
You are the foul. Get off my stage.
Welcome back. I can assure that many of our guests today and you at home would never think about guns in other people's homes until this is something that's too late. And I think one of the reasons why we do shows like this is because parents need to be aware. Where are your children? What are they doing? Who are they with? Is there an adult? According to a Gallup poll, half of the homes in America now have firearms. And I think I asked all the families on the panel today, and they all believe that that's okay. I have to say I do not believe that that's okay, but that's, you do not. Three of us do not believe that's okay. But that's what makes America. The chances are very good that the next home your child visits could have a gun, if 50% of the homes do. Hopefully, our next guest will be able to help shed some light on this. This is Catherine Kafer Christoffel. How'd I do there? She is professor of pediatrics and preventative medicine at Northwestern University and an attending physician at Children's Memorial Hospital in Chicago. In order to prevent gun-related accidents, can I have some suggestions?
Well, I think that parents and all of us need to recognize that we're in the middle of a gigantic health epidemic. This is a much bigger epidemic than polio was in the first half of this century, 10 times bigger. And all of the people up here who have spoken so eloquently this morning are victims of that epidemic. Not only the individuals who died or were maimed, but all of the survivors who live with this grief every day. And we need to start wherever we are, in our homes, in our communities, with our family and friends, to do what we can to separate our children from the agent of this epidemic.
Let me ask you a question. Should I hide, I would not have one in my house, but should I hide a gun?
Well, I think if we have to realize that guns don't mean the same thing today as they did 20 or 40 or 60 or 100 years ago, and that they are fascinating to our children and that they are everywhere. And we have to make a decision as to whether we want this dangerous item in our homes. If we do, they must be locked up separately from the bullets, as you described. That's very important. But many families will decide that it just is too dangerous. Particularly handguns are much more likely to hurt someone in the home that they are kept in than to be used for the purpose that they were purchased, which is usually self-protection. And when families know this, families can make their own decisions about what is the level of risk that they're prepared to take for themselves and for their children.
You know, though, I think that you're not going to stop guns from disappearing in homes. I mean, they're always going to be there. The NRA is always going to be there. All the gun lobbyist groups are always going to be there. I think you need to take a different angle and say, okay, they're here. How are we going to deal with them? And if they are going to be here, who's going to be responsible when something happens? I think that's important, and that somebody has to be held accountable.
We'll be right back.
You tell them not to do something. Don't touch that. What does a little toddler do? Look at you and start
Many
reaching
say
over.
don't touch that. This is Michael Beard, and Michael is the president of the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence. Since 1976, this is a long fight.
It has been.
Are you gaining anything?
I think we're gaining ground, but we hear the stories every day of children dying, the 15 stories a day, and I have to talk to the parents of the people who are dying. You know, guns in the home do not make for a safe home, and guns in the society do not make for a safe society. If they did, the United States would be the safest society in the world. We're not. We're one of the most dangerous.
The least safe society in the world. The object of Michael's organization is to ban private possession of handguns. Do you really think you can ever do that? I mean, that lobby is so enormous. Do you really think you can do it?
I think we always have to try. We've got to get these instruments off our streets. We have a real serious problem coming down the road. Now we have a lot of 10-year-olds, thousands of 10-year-olds out there who are going to turn 15 at the turn of the century. And if we continue adding 2 million guns a year to our arsenal, the demographers say we're going to have a bloodbath at the turn of the century in our very young people. We adults have failed. We have allowed these deadly instruments to get on the street, to pollute our children and killing our children. We've got to do something about it. We've got to say to our politicians, quit trying to hide behind the National Rifle Association or the Second Amendment and really talk about the issue. And parents also have got to find out when they let their children out, as we've learned here today, you've got to say, everywhere my child goes, I have to ask, is there a gun there?
Is there a gun, and is that gun locked? right now, not some other time.
Good morning. I feel for all y'all mothers and everything, because I was a working woman coming home from work August 8, 1978. I got gunned down, shot 6 times, left for dead. My mother had died in 75. I had a 3-year-old child. I didn't expect to live. My heart had stopped. But God left me here to take care of my child. Then after I got shot, my child got shot this year by being in a discotheque. So I figured that y'all should stop even making guns, really.
Yeah.
Now, I don't even go out the house on August 8th. Go ahead.
I would just like to say that all too often when we have tragedies like this, it's easy to look to the government to legislate and to try to solve our problems. And I agree with the lady that did say the responsibility does need to go with the owner of the gun. And we as voters here in America, I think we have the ability to put our vote and make it count. I'd also like to commend the first couple for making the donation of their son's part so that...
I think that's true. We'll be right back. I don't think it's any surprise to know that we are the most violent country on the face of the earth. I asked Michael about other countries, and he said most democracies do not allow private citizens to own firearms. So why do we think we're smarter than France and England and Switzerland and Italy and Germany and all those other countries? I don't know, boggles the mind. Thank you for being with us. I know how difficult this is. See you next time.
You are the fight.